didn't leak quietly, it detonated. Because what exploded out of London tonight isn't gossip, isn't rumor, and isn't palace spin. It's numbers. Cold, unforgiving numbers that expose a financial collapse so severe it threatens to erase Prince Harry's California fantasy entirely. The fairy tale is over, the safety net is gone, and the monarchy has decided to let him fall.
After many, many years of lies being told about me and my family, there comes a point where, again, going back to the relationship between certain members of the family and the tabloid press.
Breaking news from London has just shattered the careful facade Prince Harry has been maintaining for years. A sealed financial dossier reportedly leaked from the heavily guarded archives of St. James's Palace confirms the catastrophic number the Duke of Sussex has desperately tried to hide. A verified $150 million debt crisis that threatens to destroy everything he's built in California. This isn't tabloid speculation anymore. This isn't anonymous sources whispering in the shadows. And that's the moment everything changed. Because once those numbers landed on the table, this stopped being about family feelings, old wounds, or reconciliation fantasies. This became about solvency, survival, and whether the crown itself could afford to be emotionally attached to a financial liability spiraling out of control. Behind the palace gates, while the public assumes soft conversations and seasonal olive branches, something far darker was unfolding. Not forgiveness, not healing, a financial autopsy.
There's a lot that I can forgive, but there needs to be conversations and then in order for reconciliation, and part of that has to be accountability.
According to Palace insiders, we're looking at documented evidence of financial collapse on a scale that would devastate even the wealthiest celebrities. And while the world assumed King Charles was preparing for reconciliation, something far more serious was unfolding behind closed doors. Unmarked vehicles, rain-soaked streets. A late-night emergency summit at St. James's Palace. Not a family home, not a sentimental setting, but the cold administrative heart of royal power. This wasn't a meeting about emotions. This was a meeting about math. At the center of the room sat the man who doesn't do sympathy, doesn't do nostalgia, and doesn't do excuses. Sir Michael Stevens, the keeper of the privy purse. Inside royal circles, they call him the living ledger. He doesn't see princes. He sees balance sheets. He doesn't hear trauma. He hears burn rates. And the report he opened wasn't speculation. It was forensic. Column after column. Spreadsheet after spreadsheet, a meticulous breakdown of how someone raised in unimaginable privilege managed to torch over $100 million with nothing sustainable to show for it. The room reportedly went silent, because what Stevens laid out wasn't scandal, it was anatomy. The anatomy of collapse. First came the anchor dragging everything underwater, Montecito. A $14.65 million mortgage still outstanding on a mansion that doesn't generate income, doesn't appreciate fast enough, and bleeds cash every single month. Property taxes north of $200,000 annually. Full-time staff, security coordinators, groundskeepers, private chefs, garden maintenance designed to block drones instead of balance sheets. This house doesn't just sit there, it consumes. And the kicker? The infrastructure. Variable rates. American post-pandemic spikes. Every month, the cost rises while the income dries up. Stevens reportedly didn't soften the blow. This property requires blockbuster-level revenue just to remain neutral, he explained, and Prince Harry hasn't had a blockbuster in years. Then came the second hemorrhage, the vanity tax. An estimated $28 million in legal fees. Lawsuits across jurisdictions. Cases driven not by strategic gain, but emotional vindication. Court battles meant to punish perceived enemies instead of protect assets. Millions burned in British courts. Millions lost in government cases. Millions paid not only to Harry's lawyers, but to the very institutions he sued and lost against. This wasn't investment. This was combustion. And worse, lenders extended credit under one fatal assumption: the family would step in, that King Charles would never allow default, that the crown would quietly clean it up. That assumption was wrong. Then Stevens opened the folder that reportedly made even hardened aides shift in their seats. Security, what he called the paranoia premium. A staggering $31 million spent, owed, or projected on private security since losing Metropolitan Police protection. Ex-military contractors, armored vehicles, rotating armed teams, counter-surveillance tech, presidential-level protection funded on a podcast budget. And the cycle is brutal. Fear fuels spending. Spending fuels financial pressure. Pressure fuels media exposure, exposure fuels more fear. A machine that loses money every time it turns. This isn't temporary insolvency, Stevens reportedly concluded. This is a structurally failing enterprise. Then came the final blow, the media illusion. The Netflix deal that was supposed to secure independence didn't. The headline number never materialized. Production costs ate advances. Retention collapsed. Follow-up stalled. The relationship quietly died. Spotify ended worse. 12 episodes. Early termination. Public humiliation. A reputation that now scares off future partners. What was sold as post-royal freedom turned into a crater. And that's when the room shifted. Because now the question wasn't how did this happen? It was what do we do about it? King Charles reportedly spoke first, not as a monarch, as a father. He saw not just debt, but global humiliation. The image of a king's son facing American bankruptcy court. He proposed a private lifeline, a loan, confidential, structured, quiet. One more rescue. But before the idea could settle, Prince William moved, and everything changed. He didn't reach for emotion. He reached for a document, a black-bound assessment. Commercial, ruthless. This is not about saving Harry, William reportedly said. This is about preventing us from funding our own destruction. And that's where the fracture became permanent. Because William laid out the truth no one wanted to say aloud, Harry's business model depends on grievance. His income requires conflict. His content needs villains. And the family is the product. Every bailout would fund the next attack. Every lifeline would buy time to burn the bridge again. William didn't argue emotionally, he argued mathematically. And by the time Princess Anne spoke, the verdict was already sealed. Harry wasn't just a problem, he was becoming a toxic asset. And toxic assets don't get rescued. They get isolated, they get cut loose. And behind palace walls, the decision was made to lock the vault, not temporarily, but permanently. The St. James Protocol had begun. The decision wasn't loud. There were no raised voices, no slammed doors. That's what made it terrifying. Because once the emotional debate ended, once the paternal instinct was overruled by institutional survival, the monarchy didn't argue anymore. It executed. Sir Michael Stevens opened the final folder, the one never meant for public eyes, never destined for leaks, never to be spun by palace spokespeople. This was operational, surgical. A financial kill switch. What would later be whispered inside royal circles as the St. James Protocol. Not punishment, not revenge. Quarantine. Prince William outlined it with chilling clarity. 3 pillars. No flexibility, no exceptions. First, the sovereign firewall. Effective immediately, all royal financial structures were sealed. No transfers, no intermediaries, no indirect support disguised as shared investments or charitable overlap. Every pathway that had once allowed money to quietly flow across the Atlantic was closed, not paused, deleted. If Prince Harry insisted on being a private businessman, he would now face private failure, foreclosure, bankruptcy, public embarrassment. None of it would trigger intervention. The vault was no longer guarded. It was welded shut. Then came the second strike, the one that would truly collapse the illusion, the global credit freeze. For years, Harry's surname functioned as invisible collateral. Banks didn't lend because of his income, they lent because of his proximity. The assumption was simple, the king would never allow default. That assumption died in that room. Under the protocol, discreet notices were authorized to be delivered to major financial institutions. Not press releases, not public statements. Private communications between financial departments, a single message, non-liability. The crown backs nothing, guarantees nothing, covers nothing. From that moment forward, Harry's creditworthiness wasn't based on royal proximity, it was based on cold metrics, income versus liabilities. And the math was brutal. Sir Michael Stevens reportedly didn't sugarcoat it. Once the implied backing vanished, Harry's credit profile would implode, not because of missed payments, but because the foundation beneath them had been formally disclaimed. The last pillar sealed it completely, the communications blackout. No more direct appeals, no emotional calls, no family back channels. Any contact from Montecito regarding finances would be routed to external legal counsel whose sole purpose was enforcement. No persuasion, no sentiment, no negotiation. The line to the king's checkbook was severed permanently. By the time the signatures dried, William I, Charles II, and witnessing, it was done. The monarchy hadn't shouted, it hadn't leaked, it hadn't humiliated, it had disengaged. And 5,000 miles away, Prince Harry had no idea the ground beneath him had vanished. Morning broke in Montecito like any other. California sun, ocean air, A house built on the belief that no matter what happened, the family would step in at the last moment. For 4 decades, that assumption had never failed him. Harry reportedly walked into his office expecting confirmation, not catastrophe. His team had scheduled calls, mortgage restructuring, short-term relief, quiet intervention. The first call connected, and immediately something felt wrong. The voice wasn't familiar, it wasn't warm, it wasn't deferential, it belonged to external legal counsel. "I'm afraid that is impossible, sir." Harry's advisors pushed back, explained urgency, explained exposure. Surely this was procedural. "Does the king know?" someone asked. "The directive comes from London," the voice replied. "The request is denied." Then the line went dead. No negotiation, no explanation, no callback. Within hours, the follow-up arrived. A formal email, itemized, legal, cold. Not only was the bailout refused, outstanding obligations were being called in, including historic renovation costs. The message was unmistakable. You are not a beneficiary, you are a debtor. Panic set in. Harry tried to bypass the system the way he always had. The old way, the personal way. Calls to trusted aides at Clarence House. Deadlines. Numbers disconnected. Accounts deactivated. Emails bounced. Credentials revoked. Even the private server, the one used for family updates, photos, casual check-ins, was gone. Another bridge erased. Standing on the terrace of the Montecito mansion, the distance suddenly felt infinite, not just geographic, existential. For years, Harry believed that no matter how brutal the fight became, blood would override balance sheets, that when the wolves reached the door, his father would answer. What he didn't understand was this: King Charles the father had been overruled by King Charles the monarch. The palace didn't insult him, didn't shame him, didn't respond at all, and silence was the most devastating answer of all. Without royal backing, his leverage evaporated. To creditors, he was no longer a prince in exile. He was just another overextended celebrity with unsustainable costs and declining income. No institutional immunity, no implied rescue, just debt. This was the real price of independence. Harry wanted autonomy with a safety net, freedom without consequence. He burned the headquarters and still expected payroll. But independence doesn't come with insurance from the people you left behind. Some will call Prince William cold for allowing this. Others will call him the CEO who refused to fund a hostile business model built on family destruction. By cutting the cord, he didn't destroy his brother. He forced him to live without the illusion that had protected him his entire life. The royal safety net is gone. The era of accountability has arrived. And now the question isn't whether Prince Harry will survive this collapse. It's whether he ever understood what freedom actually costs. The vault is locked. The Bank of P is closed. And the accounting has only just begun. Has only just begun. Has only just begun. Has only just